Namaste yogis. Hope you're doing okay and are ready for an exciting yoga practice tonight, or whichever time of day you're practicing. I'm filming it this evening. So the class tonight is going to be preparing the body and the mind for forearm balance. And even if you don't make it to full forearm balance, that doesn't matter at all. It's your journey towards there and the steps towards it. And then you just be patient and you develop your practice, and hopefully one day you might get there, and if you don't, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just take a moment to sit comfortably. I'm going to sit in full lotus pose, but just sit in whichever position is comfortable for you, so you can have a nice straight back. And the props that you will need for the class is one belt, or it could just be a dressing gown belt, anything that just performs the same function as a belt, and a yoga block. Okay, so just taking a moment to sit up nice and tall, to close the eyes. Maybe you take this hand mudra, the thumb and the forefinger gently touching, rest the back of the hands on the knees. Just close the eyes to take the intention and attention internally. And try to bring your attention to your breath and begin to quieten the mind. Just consciously deepen the breathing. And as you take your inhale, feel your hips grounding into the floor, and feel the unmanifested earth energy rising up through your Svadhisthana chakra, the hip energy center, rising through the base of the spine, the sacrum area, travelling up to the crown of the head, and on the exhale you release the stale air and feel energy flooding through the body. And sometimes when we're trying to quieten the mind, it helps to have a visualization or a mantra, just something to focus on, particularly just by bringing your attention to your breath, something as simple as that, something as counting the breath, and that can just really help focus your attention, and as you consciously start to control the breath. So whichever method works for you. Okay, and then we're going to join our hands at the heart center, Anahata chakra, and we're going to just chant one Om just to start off the practice. So taking a deep inhale, good, and then blinking the eyes open. Great, so hopefully you feel ready to practice. So I'm going to come into just a kneeling position, just to give myself a bit more height, and we're going to start to open the shoulders by using the belt. So if you've got quite tight shoulders, start gripping the belt fairly wide. If your shoulders are already a little bit more open, you might take a slightly narrower grip. But essentially we're going to inhale and raise the arms up without pushing the chest out, so keep the front of the ribs in. And then carefully exhale the belt behind you, again keeping the front of the ribs in. We exhale back, keeping the arms straight. And then we inhale up and exhale down. Now if that was easy for you, you maybe just move the hands slightly closer together. If it was hard, move the hands wider apart. We inhale, lift up, exhale carefully back. Inhale the arms up, exhale, release. And just keep adjusting the hands so you feel like you're opening the shoulders, but you're not obviously straining anything. So inhale up, feel the shoulder heads rotating, exhale the arms back. Inhale up, exhale back. Last time, inhale up, exhale back. Inhale up, exhale back. And you can pause it, and you can do that a few more times if you feel that it was beneficial for you. Otherwise, we're going to take the trusty block. We're going to use it to frame the hands for a forearm plank. So we need to start to warm up the core as well as the shoulder girdle. So frame the block with your hands, come down onto the forearms, elbows in line with the shoulders, and then step the feet back. Heels move back, head moves forward, forearms press into the floor. We engage the core and we remember to breathe and hold, and start to feel your core muscles firing up, your Uddiyana Bandha, your lower abdominal muscles. You really activate the forearms, really push them into the floor. Feel the elbows energetically moving towards each other even though they're not moving, so an isometric movement. Keep breathing, and this is really excellent warm-up preparation for forearm balance. Couple more breaths. Heels move back, chest and head move forward. Good. Okay, and then gently drop the knees down, and we'll come on to the hands and knees. Just move the block out of the way. So let's just do a few rounds of cat to cow to warm up the spine. So we inhale and release the shoulders. Exhale, round the spine. Inhale, look forward and arch. Exhale and round. Moving with the breath, inhaling, arching. Exhale and round. Inhale. Exhale. Last time, inhaling and exhaling. Good. And come back to neutral. Okay, so now we're going to take a puppy pose. So maybe just walk the knees back a little bit, and we extend the arms forward, and we start to think about bringing the chest down towards the floor. Maybe, as we haven't really warmed up too much yet, maybe the chin doesn't come all the way down, that doesn't matter. You might just want to adjust and walk the knees back slightly. But push it again, push the forearms into the floor, feel the shoulders moving back towards the sockets. So you're energetically moving the arms back. And importantly, the upper back is releasing, the chest is melting towards the floor. And you're feeling the shoulder girdle starting to open, you're feeling a nice expansion in the upper back and an opening in the chest. Good, and then start to lift up. We'll just come into a variation of downward facing dog, so just grip the outer edges of the mat, lift the hips up, step the feet wide, and you can keep the heels lifted, but just move the chest back towards the legs, keep the hips lifted. Maybe the forehead comes down to the floor. But keep the arms very active. Try to turn the inner elbows towards each other. Feel how that affects the position of the shoulder heads and allows the upper back to broaden. Good. And then bring your hands flat. Come into regular Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Again, feel the inner seams of the thighs lifting up to the ceiling, tilting up to help lengthen out the lower back. Spread the fingers evenly, push the inner palms into the floor to really make sure the hands are active and allowing you to move the weight back into the legs so the arms aren't taking all of the weight. And on the exhale, just be conscious to try to release the lower ribs back towards the spine. Good. And look forward and just start to tiptoe the feet forward. Release the feet hip distance at the top of the mat. And let's just bend into the legs and really extend the chest forward so you get a nice length in the spine, chest towards the thighs. And then you can take the hands to the back of the calf muscles or where the Achilles tendon is, and slowly then, keeping the length in the spine, you start to uncurl, and maybe the legs straighten. You've got that nice length in the spine. And then slowly uncurl vertebra by vertebra. Come up to standing. And we'll get moving into the flow. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit warmed up now. And just have your blocks and straps to one side. So standing with the feet together, mountain pose Tadasana, hands at the heart center. And then inhale, reach the arms up. Look up at the hands. Exhale, start to hinge forward from the hips, releasing into forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, onto the fingertips, half forward bend. Exhale, releasing down. Get that nice length in the spine. And then step back to plank pose. Look forward and then gently drop the knees, chest and chin down, keeping the elbows against the ribs. And then just release. Come into a gentle cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Push the tops of the feet down. Feel the energy lengthening the lower spine and lifting the chest. And then tuck the toes, push the hips up and back, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog. Good, and then inhale, raise your right leg. Keep the hips square for now, so keep the right toes pointing down. The left leg, the standing leg, is strong. And then step your right foot forward. Come into a lunge, stay on the fingertips, lengthen the spine. So feel that right hip releasing forward and down, but the back leg, the back thigh is really active and feels as if it's lifting up to the ceiling. And then keeping that energy, we gently drop the back knee down and we lift up into an Anjaneyasana, but with a shorter angle, more of a 90-degree angle, so that we can work the left hip flexor. Feel of the front of the ribs pulling in towards the spine, keeping the chest and the front of the ribs pulling in. We inhale the arms up. Good, and then keeping those qualities as much as you can. Maybe just step the front foot forward a few inches and start to lower the hips, but keeping that integrity in the hips and the pelvis. So feel like you're isometrically moving the feet towards each other, so the right foot feels as if it's energetically moving back, to keep the right hip moving back, whilst the left hip moves forward slightly so the pelvis stays in alignment. And then maybe for the last couple of breaths, take the hands behind you, clasp the hands together, lift up, lengthen the spine, then we open the chest. Smile the chest open, keeping the length in the lower spine and the stability in the pelvic girdle. Good, and then release. Hands move up, and then exhale, hands down. Step back to plank pose, and this time we can come through chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. And then just come to a cobra pose, Bhujangasana if you're ready, the upward facing dog. And then lift the hips up and back. Down dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. And inhale your left leg up, keeping the hips square for now, pushing the weight back into the right leg. And then step the left foot forward into a lunge, stay on the fingertips, lengthen the spine, feel that left hip releasing forward and down, but the back thigh, the right thigh stays active. And then gently start to lower the right knee down, and inhale, come up to a slightly modified Anjaneyasana, so that we work that back hip flexors, keeping the ribs moving in. We inhale the arms up, good, and then we exhale. I like to move the left foot forward, the front foot forward slightly, and then keeping the integrity in that pelvis. You can take your hands to the hip bones, feel them actively moving up as you lower the hips down. The left hip moves back, the right hip forward, so you're isometrically moving the feet towards each other to align the pelvis. You can raise the arms up for a breath, and you can leave them there, or maybe take the hands behind you, clasp the hands together, lengthen out of the lower back and start to open the chest towards the sky. Good, and release. Bring the hands down, step back to plank pose, move through your choice of vinyasa, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga dandasana, cobra or upward facing dog, remembering to lengthen out of the lower back and lift the hips up and back, Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Taking a couple of deep breaths. Feeling the body really starting to warm up, and always bring your attention back to your breath, especially as things start to get a little bit more challenging. And notice how your breath starts to change if things become more challenging. And what we want to do is, rather than tense up and hold the breath, which contracts the muscles, we want to try to breathe and use energizing breath to help us relax into the postures. Good, and then preparing to come forward, lift the heels, bend the legs. On the exhale, we lightly hop. Come into half forward bend, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release into Uttanasana, forward bend. Inhale, floating the body up, extend the arms. Exhale, hands to the heart center. Good. Feet together. Let's come into fierce pose, Utkatasana. Sweep the fingertips, extend the arms up. Feel the hip creases moving back, weight in the heels, maybe the palms join for a breath, and then we exhale, lengthen the spine forward, unfold, forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale onto the fingertips, half forward bend, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. Your choice, maybe you step back or jump straight to chaturanga. And then cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, down dog. Inhale, raise your right leg. And step your right foot forward. Drop that back foot heel to arch alignment. Inhale up for warrior two. Good. Looking over your right shoulder. Really feel your shoulder girdle engage, so feel the shoulder heads, shoulder blades, moving towards each other and moving down the back. The arms are strong, so you feel like you're pushing down on a weight. They're not just flopping around, they are strong and active and engaged. And while you're thinking about the arms, it takes your attention away from the effort in your lower body. So if we just take the attention there for a moment, you feel the outer edge of the left foot firmly pushing into the floor to help you activate that back leg. And you're lunging into the right leg, right hip moving back and into the midline. And then rotate your right palm up, drop the left arm back, reverse warrior, opening the chest, lifting up but keeping the legs in that lunge position. And as you release, start to straighten the right leg. Maybe you just move the back foot in a couple of inches. Extend the arms, move the hips to the left. Keep reaching that right arm forward for Utthita Trikonasana. Release fingertips to the shin or to the floor. Extend that left arm. So just look down, check that right hip is moving back and into the midline. We're lengthening the lower ribs, the right side of the body. So the head feels like it's moving forward. And we're opening the left side of the chest and to the ceiling. Maybe that top arm comes along by the ear, keeping everything else the same. Feel the right ribs continuing to lengthen. Good, and then just release that top arm. We're going to transition to Ardha Chandrasana. So bend into the front leg, step the back foot in a couple of inches, right fingertips come forward, and we lift the back leg. Find your centre of gravity, find your balance. Open the chest to the right and lift that top arm, engaging your core. Feel yourself radiating open. That back leg is really strong. Foot is flexed, and for balance you can look down, bend the back leg, reach for the ankle for Chapasana variation, and then push the foot into the hand to open the chest, open the left shoulder. Carefully release into Ardha Chandrasana. Bend into the front leg and lean forward for counterbalance. Keep that back leg active, and then you can gently step back into Virabhadrasana 2 for a breath, and then circle that left arm up and over. We move through a vinyasa. Knees, chest, chin or chaturanga, always your choice. Cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, down dog. Good, taking a breath. And we'll do that sequence on the other side. So inhaling, left leg up. Step the left foot forward, heel to arch alignment with the feet. Inhale up into Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. So again, thinking about the top half of the body first of all. So feel the shoulder blades moving down the back and towards each other. Extend the arms out so they're really strong, and you can feel the shoulder girdle opening and strengthening, even in this pose that seems like it would be a passive pose for the upper body. Breathing deeply, just checking in with the lower body. It's the outer edge of the right foot firmly pushing into the floor. Back leg is strong. And you're lunging into the left leg. Left hip moving back and into the midline. And then we turn the left palm up, reach the right arm back, reverse the warrior. Good, and as you release, start to straighten the front leg. Maybe you just move that back foot in a couple of inches. Whoops. And the hips move to the right. You keep reaching that left arm forward. Keep lengthening the lower ribs, the underside, the ribs, and then release the fingertips down, raise that right arm. And then once you're there, you're continually thinking about the alignment. So maybe you look down, just check where your left hip is. Is it moving back and into the midline? Or is the left side of the body, the left ribs, are they lengthening and opening? And the right side of the body is rotating. And opening towards the sky. And then you can bring your right arm up and along by the ear. Good, and release. Transitioning to Ardha Chandrasana, bend into the front leg, reach the left fingertips forward, and then we lift that back leg, find the centre of gravity. Maybe that right arm reaches up once you feel balanced. The chest is radiating open. If you want to come to Chapasana, maybe look down for balance, bend the right leg, reach back for the ankle, gently push the foot back into the hand to open the chest. If you're in that variation, gently release. Start to bend it into the front leg, lean the body weight forward to counterbalance. Back leg is still lifted, and then you can gently step back into Warrior Two. And then reach that right arm up and over. Step back to plank. Your choice, knees, chest, chin, or Chaturanga. Cobra or the up dog. And exhale, down dog. Good. And then preparing to come forward, lift the heels, bend the legs. On the exhale we hop, extend into half forward bend. Exhale, release into full forward bend. Inhale, root to rise up. Exhale, hands to the heart center. And continuing, bend the legs, sweep the fingertips into chair pose, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Weight back in the heels, hip creases back, maybe the palms join. Exhale, start to hinge the body forward and then release into forward bend. Inhale onto the fingertips, half forward bend. Lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. Your choice to step or jump back. Cobra or the up dog. Exhale, lift up, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Inhale your right leg up. This time keep the leg straight but keep lifting it higher. You can start to open the hip this time. Keep trying to move the chest back towards the left leg. Lift that right leg high and open, and then square the hips and step the right foot forward. So stay with the back heel lifted, back leg is strong, and we rise up into high lunge. Good. And then extend the arms forward, bring the shoulder heads back into the sockets, and bring the right forearm under the left. Wrap the forearms up, maybe the palms join for Garudasana, eagle arms. So we're trying to lift the elbows up more in line with the face, but the shoulder heads keep away from the ears. The hands move away from the face. And if you feel a nice opening in the shoulder girdle here, stay here. If you feel you want to open a little bit more, maybe you start to lift and open the chest to the ceiling, the elbows come up, the hands move back. Good, and release. Okay, if you have some more energy, step the left foot forward and bend into the right leg. Cross the left leg over the right. Maybe you double wrap the feet for full Garudasana. So once you're there, readjust the arms, so maybe the elbows need to lift up, the hip creases move back. Try to point the hips forward, find your balance. If you feel balanced, bend deeper into the legs, start to fold forward, bring the hands forward. Okay, and then lift up, open the arms and legs. Good. Okay, taking a deep breath, we repeat that sequence on the other side. Exhale, sweep the fingertips, chair pose, Utkatasana. Exhale, hinge forward, release, forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, half forward bend, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release. Your choice, knees, chest, chin, or jump straight to Chaturanga. And then Cobra, or the up dog. And lift the hips up and back, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. This time the left leg raises up, and keeping the leg straight, just lift the leg higher by maybe just opening the hip. Keep pushing the body back towards the right leg. That left leg is lifting, and then square the hips, look forward, step the left foot forward. So make sure you feel secure in the back leg as we inhale up into a high lunge. Good, and we extend the arms forward, bring the shoulder heads back. This time left forearm wraps under the right. Wrap the forearms, palms join. Garudasana arms, eagle arms. Shoulders move down and away from the ears, the elbows lift up. You can stay there for a few breaths or Start to open the chest to the ceiling. Lift the elbows up, move the fingertips back. Okay, release the back bend if you were there. Look forward, prepare to step forward, bend into the left leg, bring that right leg up and over. Maybe you double wrap the legs and you try to move the right hip back, readjust the arms, elbows up, and if you're balanced, hips move back, start to bring the body forward, extend the fingertips forward, squeeze the inner thighs together to help you balance and engage your core center, and then lift, raise up, good, and release, good. Okay, one more flowing sequence and then we'll start to move into the more preparatory poses for forearm balance. Good, so inhaling, reaching up, exhale, hinge forward from the hips, releasing into forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale onto the fingertips, Ardha Uttanasana, lengthen the spine. Exhale, release down. Your choice to step back or jump straight to Chaturanga, Cobra or upward facing dog. Remember to lengthen out of the lower back and then lift the hips up and back. Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Good, and raise your right leg. Step the right foot forward. And we're coming up to a high lunge again. Inhaling, reach the arms up. Good, and just check your body moves back. So it's in alignment with the pelvis. It's over the hips. So we're not leaning forward too much. The body weight is back. And you should feel an opening in the left hip flexors. And release your left arm for a moment. Keep the right arm pointing up and then drop the right hand down between the shoulder blades and take the left hand to the top of the right elbow and just move that right hand over to the left a little bit. And from here just start to move the head back into the right arm and feel as if you're lifting the chest up to the ceiling. The arm position is helping you lift up. And then very carefully start to bend the back knee and gently bring the left knee all the way to the floor. And you can keep the arms where they are or release that left arm out to the side, rotate the palm so the shoulder head rotates, and then maybe you can reach the left fingertips up to meet the right into Gomukhasana arms, and then you can start to use that back arm as a frame to lift the upper back and chest up and over, to open. Keep the left shoulder head moving back. Good, okay, and release. Okay, so from here, just bring that right foot out a couple of inches, turn the right foot out 45 degrees. We're coming into a quad stretch here, so you can stay up on the left hand or you can come down onto the left forearm. Turn the body to the right, so you're lengthening the spine. You're opening the chest, reach the right arm back, keep opening the chest, and maybe that right foot, sorry, left foot even, reaches up and your right hand moves back to the foot, and you keep opening the chest, squeeze that foot in towards the left hip for a quad stretch and a shoulder opener. Good, and release. Bring the left hand down, lift the back knee, step back to plank to move through a vinyasa. And lift up and back, down dog. And inhale, left leg up. Exhale, step the left foot forward. So make sure that back leg is ready to support you as you come up into a high lunge. So remembering to bring the torso back so the torso and the pelvis are in alignment. The hip points are pointing forward. And this time raise the left arm up, drop the hand back between the shoulder blades, take the right hand to the top of the left elbow and just move that left hand over to the right a little bit. And then from here just start to lean the head back into that left arm. Feel as if maybe there was a string attached to the left arm and it was gently pulling the left elbow up to the ceiling as you start to lift and open the chest. From here, lift out of the lower back and then gently start to lower the right knee down towards the floor. And you can keep the arms here or extend the right arm out to the side, rotate the palm back, reach back, and maybe the fingertips meet, and you might notice one side feels slightly different to the other. That's perfectly normal. And just work with that, being mindful that your body probably isn't totally symmetrical. And then maybe you just start to lean the head back, release the shoulders away from the ears, lift and open the chest. Good, and then release. Right hand down. Let's turn that left foot out to 45 degrees. Start to turn the body to the left. And then maybe you come down onto the right forearm. Lengthen the chest and open. Reach the left arm back and lift the right foot up, and maybe the hand meets the foot. And you squeeze that foot in. Keep opening the chest. Coming back to your breath. Good, and then releasing. Hands down, lift the back knee, step back to plank. And let's just drop onto the knees and come into another puppy pose. So you can just come into the same pose that we did at the beginning and just notice if you feel a little bit more open now. Maybe the chin comes down, maybe the chest comes down. Keep moving the shoulder heads back into the socket. Push the palms of the hands into the floor. Feel the area between the shoulder blades. Releasing. Good, and then gently come back up. Okay, so we're going to come into Ardha Hanumanasana or runner's lunge. So you might want the block. So staying on the left knee, extend the right leg forward. In this situation, if you're just staying here, it might be helpful to have two blocks, because then you can have a block either side of the foot. If not, no worries, you can maybe just bring one block in front of your foot and just use it as a bit of a framework to rest the right foot in a flexed position on the block, and you can grip the hands around the block and just lengthen the spine, moving the right hip crease back. Keep looking forward past the foot, and then if you're feeling more open, you might want to work towards full Hanumanasana, and you could place the block under that right thigh. You might have to move it around to get it in the right position. But start to walk the back leg back, and then you can keep the block the medium way or the lowest way. And just check that left leg is straight behind you. Move that right hip back so the pelvis is in alignment. Lift out of the lower back. And then if you feel okay, maybe you come all the way down. But remember, this is your practice. If you're watching me, you're probably just practicing on your own, so you're not trying to impress anyone. This is just your practice, so be mindful of your body. Please don't push yourself to the point of injury, obviously, but challenge yourself. So it's really about knowing the limits of your own body for today, because each day is different. Today you might be feeling hugely energetic, very open. Another day you might have had a really stressful day. You might feel really a lot of areas of tightness, and you just really might not feel like stretching yourself too much. So just be mindful of how you're feeling. And then if you're in full splits, gently lift up into the half splits, and then we can swing the right leg round, ready for the other side. So definitely the left side is my tighter side, so I'm going to use the block. So first of all, extend the left leg forward. Everyone maybe just take a moment to flex the left foot, move the left hip back so the pelvis is fairly aligned, lengthen the spine, engage the kneecap so the front of the quadricep engages to help fire up the hamstrings in the back of the leg. And if you want to, working with the block, you can look back, check the right leg is straight behind you, and it's easy to forget about the back leg in this pose because our focus is on the front leg, but really it's the hip flexors in the back leg that really help us get into this posture properly. So we need to split our attention to the front and back leg. And I'm going to move the block down to the lowest level. Lift out of the lower back if you can. Lengthen the spine. Push the hip down into the block if you're using it. Good, and then slowly lift out. Move the block to the side for a moment and swing the left leg round. Good. Okay, so now we're coming into dolphin pose. But yeah, let's use the block again like we did at the beginning with the forearm plank. Let's come into dolphin pose by gripping the block. So hands, or not gripping but framing, hands frame the block. We come down onto the forearms. Really important to make sure the elbows are under the shoulders, so we keep that integrity with the shoulder girdle. Push the forearms into the floor, tuck the toes, and then lift the hips up. And the chest is moving back towards the legs, so the hips are lifting, the spine is lengthening. You can keep a bend in the legs, that isn't so much of an issue, and it enables, if it enables you to get the spine nice and long, that's fine. If you're a bit more open now, you can maybe walk the feet in a few inches towards the arms, but keep lifting the hips, lengthening the spine, and then maybe you try lifting the right leg. Push the forearms into the floor and lower the leg down, and then maybe the left leg. Good. Maybe the feet walk in another couple of inches. Push the chest back. Good. And then drop down onto the knees. Extend the arms forward, sit the hips back to the heels for extended child's pose. Take some restorative breaths. So it's always a balance with these more advanced postures, because we need to warm up and prepare the body to be able to attempt to come into them, but equally we don't want to be so tired that we just don't have the right energy to attempt them. So if you need to pause the class for a few moments, just take a few more moments in child's pose to get your energy back. That's fine. That's the beauty of practicing an online class, as long as you don't switch off completely. Or maybe you've just given up and gone off to get a nice snack or something. Hopefully you're still with me. Okay, so now we're going to try a half forearm balance, I call it, using the wall. So bring your mat up to the wall. Hopefully you have got a clear wall space. I should have said that at the beginning. So to measure the right position for the forearms, sit in Dandasana with your back nice and straight against the wall. Lean forward and just keep one hand roughly where the feet are, and then carefully. So obviously I'm quite lucky because I've got this pattern on my mat, so I know roughly from the pattern on the mat, but you can just mark where your hand is, and we're staying facing away from the wall, but we need to bring our forearms down. So I'm going to keep my forearms parallel. You can again take the block, it just gives you a bit of a reference point for where the forearms should be, and you can push the hands into the block to help you maintain this position. And then we need to lift the hips and take the feet halfway up the wall into like a right ankle position. So hopefully I'm in the right position to come up halfway, and then you push the chest back. Okay, and then come down. So that's a strong pose. It's the similar setup obviously for half handstand, except we're on the hands, and it almost sometimes feels stronger because you've really got to have that length with the hamstrings, so that you can come into that right angle position, because you've got to push the body back towards the wall so that you don't topple forwards, but you've got to straighten the legs at the same time. So it is a strong pose. So if you need to pause and maybe practice that a couple more times, but it just gives you an idea of what it feels like to take the weight in the forearms. Okay, so now the moment you've all been waiting for, we are probably ready to try forearm balance. So there is a variation obviously where we can not use the wall and we can try to come into forearm balance with the legs in more of a Hanumanasana position and then come into balance. That is, maybe quite scary or just too advanced if you're really not very experienced with this pose. So for now, let's try potentially a few gentle kicks up into forearm balance with the wall there for confidence. So I like to be, away a good, 10 to 15 inches away from the wall myself. I don't like being too close to the wall. If you need to come a bit closer, that's fine. But again, forearms down. If you want to use the block, you can. So lift up into that dolphin pose. So look between your hands, walk the feet in, keeping the back straight, raise one leg, almost like a standing split, and then gently lift up. Now, because I'm away from the wall, I'm coming into a sort of a back bend, so I'm going to push my forearms down and gently lift the feet away from the wall to come into balance, and then come down and just release into child's pose. Okay, so if you're not very experienced with forearm balance, or if you're fairly experienced, it can be, a really strong pose. And obviously, as you get more experienced, you get a little bit more experience with how the body should be balanced, so it really doesn't feel like so much effort, and those neural pathways start to build, hopefully with that knowledge. So when you have had a rest, let's try again. I'm not going to use the block this time, and I think I'll come slightly further away from the wall. Forearms down, remembering to keep the forearms under the shoulders. Use the block if you're worried about the forearms moving apart too much, because if we start to bring the elbows out, you can see immediately my chest just collapses and I lose strength in the shoulder girdle. So it's really important the shoulders are under, the forearms are under the shoulders. And then I'm going to lift the hips up, lengthen the spine, walk the feet in, and I'm trying to come into balance. So push the forearms down. Good. And then release. Come into extended child's pose. Really breathe deeply into the back of the lungs. Good. Okay. Oh, well done. So, let's just come into a counter pose. Just a nice supine twist. So, we've already done full Garudasana, eagle pose in a standing position. Let's come into a supine variation. So bring the knees into the chest, cross the right knee over the left, maybe the legs double wrap. Extend the arms out to the side, and on the exhale start to gently drop the knees over to the left and look over your right shoulder. Try to release the right shoulder into the floor and just enjoy this gentle release of the spine. Start to feel the effects of the practice resonating through your body. Feel that earth energy pulsating through the body, creating vibration and energy. Taking deep breaths into the right side of the body, and then bring the knees back to center, unravel the legs and change sides. So this time left knee crosses over the right leg, wrap the lower legs, bring the knees closer towards the chest, and exhale with control, using your core muscles to drop the knees down to the right with control, aiming to keep the left shoulder on the floor as you look back over the left shoulder. Feel the spine unwinding and releasing. Good, and knees back to center, uncross the legs. Well done. And let's come to Viparita Karani, which is basically legs up the wall position for our final relaxation. So, as we've already used the wall space, just come up to the wall, turn sideways to the wall so that you can really get your legs flush against the wall, and then gently turn around, lift the legs up the wall. Just adjust so you can wiggle your hips right up to the wall. Bring the arms into maybe a cactus shape so you can just really relax and release the shoulders into the floor. Feel the lower back releasing into the floor. Just let any tension just melt away. And just trying to keep the mind fairly quiet. So instead of letting the usual mind chatter take over, perhaps Just take a conscious scan of the body, the physical body, noticing any effects, positive effects hopefully, of the practice on the body. And just notice how it feels to have really strengthened and opened the shoulder girdle, the upper back, the chest. And it doesn't matter at all if you achieved the forearm balance. The practice and the work is leading up towards the posture, and eventually with time and patience and persistence you will get there. Just a moment of stillness. And maybe when you start to go about your normal everyday life and a stressful situation comes up, perhaps you can think back to the effects of your yoga practice and how you handled the challenges in your yoga practice, and use that as a template for how you start to handle stressful or challenging situations in life generally. And that is how yoga extends beyond the mat. Okay, yogis, so obviously you can stay here for as long as you like. I'm going to start to come out of the pose, so if you are coming out now, gently release over to one side, bend the legs. Slowly push yourself up. Come to a seated position. So we finish where we began. Sitting upright, lengthening the spine. Draw the hands to the heart center, taking a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Once more like that. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. And we'll chant one Om to finish. Inhaling. Namaste. Thank you, yogis. Thank you for practicing with me. And if you enjoyed this class, please remember to like and subscribe, and remember to press notifications for my YouTube channel, because I'm going to start posting some more classes now, and I will also be running a few workshops that you might want to come to at South Kensington, so I'll post a note about that on the channel as well. But other than that, enjoy the rest of your day or evening. Namaste.